Welcome to India Foundation's Sanmitram series, episode 3. Sanmitram means enhancing friendship through cultural heritage. In this episode, we have something very different and interesting. We are in conversation with 3 women entrepreneurs, art entrepreneurs, who have founded their own arts management company in Chennai, some having branches outside the country. Akhila Krishnamurthy founded Alap in 2013 to marry her interest in artists and the arts with her experience in the world of media. Along the course of Alap's journey, she realized her love for ideas and tapped into a niche that allowed her to execute them in ways that are fresh and fun. Ramya Rajaraman is the founder and director. She founded Artspire to support arts, culture organizations, and artists with professional expertise in marketing and management. Shreya Nagarajan Singh's Arts Development Consultancy opened its doors in 2017. Named after her, the company strives to fill a gap in the Indian art scene, which is an internationally qualified arts management service. Welcome, Akhila.
Namaste, and thank you so much, Pavitra. Thank you for this opportunity.
Pleasure to have you. Akhila, you seem to have had a wonderful career as a journalist, contributing to leading publications in India, like the Times of India, the Hindu, and even India's premier performing arts magazine, Shruti. What made you leave that and launch your own arts management company?
I think the year was 2012, Pavitra. I was the editor of the supplements of the Times of India. So when I last quit, I was managing about 16 supplements that were across a range of subjects, which is right from Times property to education, to a women's supplement, to neighborhood supplements, to a city-based supplement. So I was, I had a really busy schedule. I'd go into work at 10 a.m. and I would finish work at about 10:30 p.m. And, I was young and I loved that, the energy of the newsroom. But somewhere I started feeling that I had hit a saturation point, like something different. So I quit my job. I just dabbled in some writing, freelance writing, because when you're a corporate and you suddenly don't have a salary at the end of every month, you really feel the jitters. So I started writing extensively because I had to, make some money at the end of the month. But as I went along, in about 3-4 months, I started toying with the idea of starting a really, really well curated, well edited performing arts magazine that married my interest in the performing arts. I'd studied classical music and dance while growing up, so I had exposure to it. And when I was a journalist, I had also written a lot about the arts. So when I became the editor, my focus shifted. You could tell that I was the editor because a lot of arts-based stories would find a feature in the publications that I edited. So I was keen to sort of marry my interest in the arts with my experience in journalism. So Alap's genesis was really to see how I can start a full-fledged commentary-based performing arts magazine that was very well put together. And it was also, I was keen that I wanted to create something where the magazine spoke to a common person and not to somebody who had already forayed into the performing arts. So it's not like, I listen to music, I listen to jazz, I listen to blues, I listen to Carnatic music, I watch a lot of cinema, I love Kishore Kumar. I wanted something that would appeal to a common person and didn't have to dissect the arts in a very, very, very nuanced way in that sense. Plus, the other thing is, Pavitra, as a journalist, I was more interested in the artist more than the arts. So I was always curious about what is the energy and the dynamism that the artists brought to the arts that actually makes their art unique, like that. So that's really how Alap was born. I was literally sitting at a coffee shop and I wanted to do something in the space of the arts. Priyadarshini Govind, the dancer, was putting together the Natyakala conference. She had become the convener. And she's a good friend of mine. And so she casually called me and said, "Ni enna pandre? Like, can you help me out with the conference?" And And we put out a very professional conference in a certain way where, we got a good crowd. We put out the communication properly. The brochure was done in a sort of more professional manner and stuff like that. One thing led to another. And at the conference, I launched the magazine as well. And once I launched the magazine, I was keen to see if I can actually curate small events, intimate events. And Pavitra, always the intent was to curate events for the common person, and in a way that a person who is typically in some sense intimidated by the classical arts could actually foray into it. Because somebody and say, hey, don't get scared of beam plus and bhupal and padam and javali. It's fun. We always wanted to, I think it came from my own vision of being able to access the arts. Like, I wanted to create a platform where more people could actually participate in the arts in an informal, non-intimidating way. So that's really how one thing led to another. And I can't believe we're foraying into our 9th year managing the arts and the artists. But it's been a very gratifying experience. Today, I call Alap an arts consulting and management company. And it's a bespoke company because I work with individual artists and I create and customize strategies, solutions, ideas that are in some sense unique and are reflective of their specific personality. Yeah, so that's really the story of Alap.
You have been doing a number of events. You've been ideating, curating, and producing a lot of events. How many events would you have completed thus far?
I mean, we may have done, I think, about more than 400 events in the last, especially in the year of the pandemic. I think we easily did like 112 events or something like that, talks and all of that. But I'd say the top 3 most favorite events would be, and in hindsight, Pavitra, I thought about it. I think the first most favorite event of mine is something called the Alap's Arts Quotient Quiz. It's called A2Q2. Mm-hmm. And I curated it in the first year of Alap. And it was just a sit-down fun quiz on the arts. And people interested in the arts to come together on a Sunday afternoon. And Krishna Sweets would often sponsor our snacks. So we'd sit down at the 136.1 yoga studio. We had a proper quiz master who conducted the quiz. And it was basically an attempt to really make the arts fun and accessible. My second most favorite would be something called the Battle of the Anklets. But it's something that, again, we curated in the second year of Alap. Mm-hmm. And I really love the sound of that word, Battle of the Anklets. It's the short of that is BOTA. Mm. It was basically an inter-dance schools competition. And the idea of it was we gave them really unique themes. Mm. It was ideas like water, laughter, Kabir. We would give them some themes, and they had to create just short 10-minute work with their teacher and present it. There's a certain innocence about it, and you will see that innocence. Now everything is just so spiffy and so sanitized and beautiful, and everybody's using fantastic lights, and everything's become just so modern. And if you look at that, there is something so natural and something beautiful about it. And it's just reminiscent of how innovation, experimentation is possible, but without all the jazz that we normally tend to associate in today's context. In the last 6 years and 7 years itself, life has changed so much. So it's also, for me, Battle of the Anklets is special because it's reminiscent of a world gone by. Number 3, I think, Pavitra, the year of the pandemic, Alap did a whole bunch of initiatives, right from, we did marathon series featuring a whole host of dancers, a whole host of conversations between 2 people, 2 dancers who didn't know each other. Then we did a whole bunch of Margari Gupshup events. And I think when I look back, I just think that they were all really reinforce Alap's basic premise, which is to create a sense of harmony in the arts. The joy of it, right? A certain sense of COVID really showed us that No matter where you are, how big you are, how successful you are, we're all united in this pandemic, right? And it's easily possible for us to have that same sense of spirit in the sense of the arts, in the space of the arts as well, and have the possibility of kindling a friendship, maybe creating work together, becoming collaborators in future.
Namaste, Ramya. Namaste, Aishwarya. Ramya, when did this idea to start Artspire hit you, and what role does Artspire play in developing the diverse dimensions of the art industry?
Thank you, Pavitra. Wonderful to be part of the discussion today, and thank you for inviting us. I started Artspire 4.5 years ago. Arts has been a very important part of my life, more as an audience, while I have learned some of the classical art forms at a very young age. Over a period of time, while I was working in the corporate sector, I would, go for shows, watch performing arts programs, etc. And that would always give me a high. And when I used to come out watching a show, it would really, really excite me. And I always wondered what it must take to put something like that together, and the level of work that goes behind the scenes. And as I just, out of curiosity, started talking to young artists and some friends, etc., I realized that there was a huge gap within the arts sector. That while you see what is happening on stage is one small part of what all goes behind the stage, and of what all it takes to put something together, and the level of effort artists and the entire team put together. And I was wondering, how could somebody like me who has certain skill sets such as marketing, communications, public relations, so many skills that I've acquired over my at that point 14 plus years of my career, to benefit the arts sector. I realized that there was a huge need for management, marketing, and business thinking in the arts sector. And after 2-3 months of more working as a freelancer, I decided to register a company and formalize it. And that's when Artspire was born, and began to build a team of us who could really work with the sector, with artists, with arts and culture organizations. The broad objective of Artspire is to provide marketing and management services for the arts and culture sector. At Artspire, we specifically, focus on a few areas, which is our core expertise. We focus on marketing, communications, and branding strategy. We focus on audience development, personal brand identity for artists, looking at opportunity development for artists for their own career development, strategic advisory. We also work with festivals and large productions where we manage it end to end. We also work with new initiatives where an artist or an organization has like an idea, a concept, and we work with them to make that concept a reality.
That was a very interesting overview of the importance of arts management. What do you think are the challenges that has impacted the art and the art organizations, and how has Artspire provided solutions to these challenges?
One of of course, the biggest challenges is bridging that gap of the artist and the audience. Thanks to digital, where there is almost like a feedback mechanism of artists being able to get feedback from audiences, and audiences are constantly in touch with artists and their favorite artists, and they know what is happening. Other largest sectoral challenge, if I may say, is the lack of awareness of arts management itself as a serious discipline among the arts community. And for example, while artists have been doing, like I said, they've been doing everything themselves, they probably did not know that they could actually engage professionals. And the other problem is that there are not enough professionals who could actually deliver what they want. And having said that, in our own way, we have conducted small workshops on marketing, on audience development, on building a website for artists, on social media and digital marketing for artists purely to, help them look at building their own brand in a way that they can do it themselves and not rely on a third party.
It looks like this is a time where there is a sudden digital acceleration, technological transformation. Has Artspire adopted any new practices or experiments to suit the current changes?
If you see the trend itself, there has been a growth trend in the digital and technology space over the last decade. Just that how fast it has been over the last 1 year is incomparable to what has happened over the last 10 years itself. And if you see over the last few years, you can see artists have been embracing the whole technology aspect in itself, which means we have a lot of these artists who are creating content for YouTube or creating content specifically for Instagram. And the way they have viewed it during the pandemic has just undergone a sea change in itself, from creating stuff at one's own home's comfort. They have gone all the way to create stuff which is specific to studios, specific to online content in itself, which means they have also discovered that they can stay connected a lot more with their audience. So how does Artspire enable it? Like, purely because of our knowledge a little more in that space, knowledge which was learnt and acquired, we will be able to enable that a little more easily than an artist sitting and struggling and figuring it out on their own. And one more thing which I feel has become a huge thing in this time is the collaboration which is coming around. So, and as arts managers, it's very exciting for us because we are also able to ideate in a space where we are able to say that, okay, why not combine, say, photography or videography and drawing, or you can just combine a million art forms together. So, and we have access to these artists, and we have access to our own think tanks. So we just come up with these very different ideas which can actually translate into paper. We are able to enable this for the artists, okay, and give them that head start into these platforms, or give them those thoughts and ideas into how they can actually revenue generate through a particular way. So we've seen one of the Bharatanatyam dancers who we just asked them to put out their videos on YouTube in a very, very simplistic fashion. And we have seen that the numbers have increased, which means in a few days from now, their YouTube videos will be sustainable for them.
So, Aishwarya and Ramya, can you share some of your clients who have been working with you, your experiences with your clients?
Sure. We work with Bharata Kalanjali, a leading Bharatanatyam institution run by the legendary Dhananjayans. We work with Rasa, an organization run by Ambika Kameshwar that specifically works using art and movement therapy for differently abled people. We work with Shale, a fantastic online platform for the classical arts in India. And we also work with a platform called Neo Nartaki, spearheaded by the very, very well-known Anita Ratnam, the dancer. We've also worked very closely with Karthik Fine Arts and the Bharatanatyam exponent Priya Murli on 2 editions of the dance conference Natya Darshan, which happens during the December season here in Chennai. We've also worked with the British Council recently during the lockdown on an India-Wales digital festival project, which was completely online. One of our other key clients has been First Edition Arts, a Mumbai-based performing arts production company that specifically focuses on classical music, and interdisciplinary arts festival that they did last year called Cusp in Chennai. And so these were some of the large events that we worked, in fact, in 2020, before we kind of, got into the lockdown. Thank you, Pavitra. Wonderful talking to you.
Namaste, Shreya. A very warm welcome to you. You have a very interesting philosophy that says, leave the artisting to artists and leave everything else to us. So, what is that everything else to us that you take care of?
Namaste, Pavitra. Thank you so much for having me on this series. Really, what we like to do is we don't like to intervene in artistic practice or the creative process of an artist, right? Because we believe artists know what they're doing and they're artists for a reason. What we like to do is help artists with everything else around that, right? And that basically means from the business end of things, from marketing to positioning the arts to helping them generate revenue in the arts, to helping them build a business model for themselves. And ultimately, of course, the idea being, capacity building and teaching them the business end of the end of the arts, but also helping them in the long run to be sustainable and more confident in their artistic practice, because everything else is sort of set from them. So when I mean everything else, it could be if it's, for example, an event, right? If we don't just do on the day of the event, we don't just take care of things. We do it right from, like, let's say 3 months prior, right? From planning, how we're going to market it, the creatives, the color scheme, our target audience, how we're building it, and how are we going to generate revenue, which is the most important thing from the arts, which is the business end of the arts, is what I'm really focused on, and I'm educated and trained in this, is looking at the entrepreneurship versus the business end of how do you build the art sector through, of course, artists and capacity building with them.
You are an awardee of the coveted Fulbright Nehru Fellowship. Was that an important factor to establish your own arts development consultancy, Shreya?
Absolutely, it was a big factor. So I did my master's from Columbia College Chicago, from the Department of Business and Entrepreneurship, 2015 to 17. And Fulbright really set it up really well. So that really helped me. I'd already done a master's in arts management from Dakshin Chitra, and already done a leadership course, which helped me figure out what kind of leader I was and what kind of a person I was and what kind of role I wanted to be in an organization. So I had all that sorted off, and I'd had about maybe 8 to 10 years of experience at this point working in the arts sector already. But what I felt I didn't have was how do you build revenue in the arts, right? And how do you build strong businesses in the arts? And that's kind of why I went back to do my second master's at Columbia, thanks to Fulbright. And when I came back, I sort of built my consultancy around what I learned in my master's, right? So strategic planning, revenue generation, business model development, fundraising, sponsorship, all of that. So that's exactly what I learned in my master's. Fulbright played a very big part of that. And it is, I think, a big part of the person I am today, but also the skills I have today is definitely, I have to give them a big shout out and credit for that.
So artists need their own comfortable aesthetic space for their creativity, choreography, to engage with other musicians, their own practices. Mm-hmm. So you seem to have a very beautiful space called Swapna. What is very special about it, Shreya?
We have 2-3 different spaces. One is just like a big hall, a big room that can be converted into anything. So people use it for video shoots, for audio shoots, for photo shoots, for rehearsal space.
What have been special events that you have curated thus far?
Some of the things that I've done is I get to curate this event called Utsavam with Dakshin Chitra every year. Dakshin Chitra is a heritage museum in Chennai. And so we've done this for the 4th year. Every year it's a different theme. Every year it's a different group. Every year it's a different audience with different partners. So one year we had it about gender. The last year it was about the future of the arts. This year it was about building resilience in the arts through live and digital experiences, and how we're moving from an events economy to an experience economy, and what does that really look like. And I already know next year I want to do it completely about virtual and NFT and things like that. Apart from that, I curate a lot of different online events this year, specifically also because of COVID. We did the whole For the Future series, which is a capacity building series that I got to curate and also lead in many different things. So we basically did hands-on workshops for artists about audience development, about leadership in the arts, about archiving in the arts, etc. So these were the maybe 12 or 13 we've finished so far, and we're going to continue them because I think it's an excellent way to engage and build capacity for artists and people in the arts sector. Right? Am I curating to help change mindset and behavior of audiences and artists. I think that's what at the core of it for me is all about curating. And that's what I try to do in all of these different initiatives and invitations that come my way.
What is the vision of Shreya Nagaraj Singh Arts Development Consultancy?
The vision is that I want there to be 250 companies like myself in India in arts management. And the vision is that we all work together to develop a strong framework for arts management work. We all have to work together and we have to work cohesively to professionalize the arts sector.
India Foundation sincerely thanks the dynamic art entrepreneurs. Shreya Nagarajan Singh, founder SNS Arts Development Consultancy. Ramya Rajaraman, founder and director Artspire, and her associate director Aishwarya Jaraman. Akhila Krishnamurthy, founder Alap, for their time and sharing with us their thoughts and accomplishments. We wish each one of them significant milestones in their respective journeys. Namaskar.